Maryland football could be stuck with Mike Locksley.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Trey Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for all making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Maryland football could be stuck with Mike Locksley in the future. So it's become clear in the storyline behind Mike Locksley and potentially getting fired from the University of Maryland is it's not going to happen. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen. It looks like there's way too many different components to it that won't allow Maryland football to be able to fire Mike Locksley, basically. And after another loss to Rutgers University in year 7, for Maryland football, looks like another bleak, pretty terrible year for the second year in a row. Me and others have been calling for him to be gone. I'll stand on that take. Maryland football ain't going nowhere with how this current program is constructed and how this current team is. It's just not. It's not a team that looks good at all. It's not a team that looks like it's going to advance anywhere. It's not a team that has the pieces right now that anybody feels good about, that anybody feels confident at all with. And I think you got to look at yourself in the mirror eventually and be like, Mike Locksley shouldn't be the head coach of Maryland football. But the other part of this, that's kind of what I argued yesterday. Maryland football needs a clean house. We need to just get rid of everyone and bring in someone new, a fresh perspective, hopefully a fresh new energy. That was what I talked about yesterday. But as you read more about the problem and the more you understand about college football and what happens with a lot of these firings is there's a money component to it. I don't know if you guys have paid attention to this firing cycle in college football, but guys like Brian Kelly, they're owed a ton of money when you fired him early. Mike Locksley wouldn't be owed as much money as a guy like Brian Kelly when he gets fired, but there is still a component to where you're going to have to buy Mike Locksley out, and you're going to have to give him a lot of money. And that money doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's not just coming out of the trees. It's not something that you just have at the University of Maryland. Like no university typically has that money. It's money that you have to get from your boosters, that the Maryland boosters have to cough up. And I think something has become clear is that Maryland boosters, there's just not a ton of that. There's not. We don't have a lot of money. The NIL isn't there. The booster money isn't there. It's just not. And so the interesting part about it is his buyout is about 13 million, give or take. It's about that number around there. And so it's not like a humongous number. Like I want to say Brian's Kelly's was, what was it, like 50 or 60 million, like something crazy, but it's still a lot of money that we would owe Mike Locksley. It's still a ton of money that we would owe Mike Locksley, and we just don't have the money in the boosters to be able to do it. It just isn't going to happen, and he's under contract through the 2027 season, so it's still a couple of years left, and he gets paid on average 6.1 million per year. So it would just be a lot of money. And this was the quote I saw on Twitter from the Maryland boosters. They would have trouble coming up with the money. No one around here wants to pay buyout money. Hence part of the problem. So it looks like we're kind of just going to be stuck with Mike Locksley. For lack of a better way to put it, it looks like we might just be stuck with him. And I don't know if we're going to allow him another year or whatever the case is. I just, the another year thing, when does that ever go well? It very rarely actually goes well. And a part of me is really scared either way, whether we keep Mike Locksley or we get rid of Mike Locksley, the exodus of players that end up happening. And my thing is, I think if Mike Locksley is gone, I think it's going to be huge. And I think if Mike Locksley is still here, it still could be pretty big. And so if you're going to have a lot of players leaving the portal, especially some of these star freshmen that we're really excited about in the future, if they're going to leave anyway, my thing is like, we just might as well get rid of him. We just do. And I think the only thing that's keeping him here, the only thing that keeps me relatively excited about Mike Locksley is the fact that he got a kid like Malik Washington, who's one of the best freshman quarterbacks in the country and is a surreal talent that Maryland football wouldn't normally be able to get. And you have Malik Washington for 3 more years, technically. But I think if he stays, there is a chance Malik stays. But I think there's also a pretty good chance that Malik's gone after this year and gets paid by someone in the portal. I don't know if Malik's going to want to put up with this for another year. That just might not be the situation. And that might not be what Malik Washington wants to do. And so I do think there's a world where Malik ends up being gone. To be completely honest, he ends up going somewhere else. And at that point, it's like, what really is there to be excited about with Mike Locksley? There's just not a lot. If guys in that 2025 class are going to end up leaving anyway, I just think you look at it and you're like, there's just not a whole lot here to be able to keep him here. There's just not. And the way he's managed games this year, the way that some of these games have gone, have just been bad. It's just been bad. But the buyout money looks like he's going to be here. I hate to admit it. I think he at least makes it through the season at the very least. I don't see him going anywhere earlier than the end of season. I just don't see it. I think he's here at least throughout the end of this season. I just think that's the situation. I just think that's what's going to happen with Mike Locksley. And as much as it kind of stinks for us to know that he's going to continue to be here, it's just what it is, to be completely honest. But I think there's a chance Maryland football tries to get the money together after the season and not allow him to be the coach for the next couple of years. But if you're planning on doing it, the later you wait, the harder it gets. You want the new guy to get in here as fast as possible, but I just think giving him another year, I think he peaked. I think the 8-win season with Maryland under Talia and some of the talent that we had, I think that was the peak for Maryland football. And I hate to admit it, but I think a lot of you guys would agree. And I think if you're a consistent 8-win types of guy for Maryland football, I don't think we're going to have a complaint. But it's the fact that we're on a mountain right now. We were climbing the mountain, and then now we're just dropping off, and it's steep. It's a steep drop off. And with having one of the worst schedules, arguably in the Big Ten, you could argue like literally the easiest schedule in the Big Ten. You can't have only one Big Ten win. And that's what we have so far this year. And it's not for lack of opportunity. It's not like we haven't been in games. And that might be something that excites people about Mike Locksley, or that might be something that people feel negative about Mike Locksley. I think it can go two ways. You could say Nebraska was a more talented team than us, but we were in the game against them. But you could also say Mike Locksley isn't able to finish a game. So people are going to have different opinions. Again, I think this coaching cycle is weird because there's a lot of jobs open. So I don't know what kind of candidate we're going to get. And I also don't know how appealing this job is with the money, the NIL, where it is in the Big Ten right now, kind of our resources. I'd be lying if I said it was a great job. You guys know what I think about that. But it just, to me, it senses like we're going to be stuck with Mike Locksley. I could be wrong. I could really see him getting another year, to be completely honest. I can definitely see him being the Maryland coach for another year, which none of us want to see, none of us want to watch, but I think that's the reality of our situation right now. And I just think that's what's going to end up happening. And so we'll see. The new AD might have an interesting kind of way to go about it, might play this differently than what we'd expect, but right now he's the head coach for Maryland football, and the program's pretty bad. And I think we're a lot more excited about basketball and Buzz Williams, despite losing to Georgetown. We have another game tonight against Alcorn State. Some of you guys might be saying this after the game, but I just want to give some general thoughts on the team. And kind of what I think going into this game against Alcorn State. What do I want to see improved? We'll talk about that next. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives you advantages to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. The app is made super simple. I can even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals too. Pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster and cheaper and less stressful than any other way I brought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time at current account and use code Locked on College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go download the Game Time app today. So Maryland basketball obviously has the game tonight against Alcorn State, and there's a couple of things that I want to see to get back on track from Buzz Williams, from everyone from Maryland basketball. There's definitely a couple different things. Obviously, I don't want to talk too much about Alcorn State. A lot of you guys are going to see this after, but Alcorn State, they're not very good. We should be able to beat them pretty good. Just to give you guys a quick kind of rundown, they have a couple good players. A kid that I was researching, Shane Lancaster, right now leads a team with 15 points per game, actually from Bowie, Maryland, which is kind of interesting. And then they have another kid that's a forward, kind of a big kid, averages 10 points per game, Nick Woodward, their senior forward. A couple of guys that are deep shots right now with the 5 players at 6'7" or above, which is pretty big for a team like Alcorn State. So it's not like they're super small, but I think there's a couple things from Maryland basketball after the game against Georgetown that I want to see start to get improved. And obviously, yeah, with this game against Alcorn State, but really just in the future, especially with the game coming up against Marquette next on Saturday, and then also the game against UNLV in a couple of weeks and Gonzaga to finish out a non-conference. Like I definitely want to see some different things get cleaned up. I think the number one thing is, I think this is more from the Buzz Williams side of things. Our lineups have to get cleaned up. I'm a very guy that likes something clean, something that's very scheduled, that feels like we have a plan going in. Against Georgetown, it felt like we didn't. It felt like Buzz Williams had no idea who was going to play and who was going to play, how many minutes guys were going to play, which is fine. It's early in the season. It's kind of like we got to ride with who we think is good. But I think we're getting closer and deeper. And I mean, it's only been a couple of games. I think we're getting a pretty good indicator after the first couple of games who needs to start, what our rotation needs to be like. I don't want to see guys playing just like we're just mixing and mingling like all the time. Like I was like 2 minutes in the game, I'm like, oh, we're subbing everyone already. Like it just seemed like a lot to me. I want to see a little bit more of a consistent rotation in a consistent lineup, and I think this is a team that needs to kind of fall on their older guys. Like I'm fine with doing that early on in the season. I think Miles Rice should absolutely start. I would be surprised if he doesn't start tonight. I think Darius Adams, I think he should start still. And then you could argue Andre Mills could start, but I also think that you could argue that David Coit might give us the best chance to win games. So I would think about putting David in the lineup with Miles Rice and Darius Adams, and then keeping the Elijah Sanders for Alpine for now until Solomon Washington is back. I think that's definitely a potential lineup that we should go with. Del Pino should not. I shouldn't see him start again. Like that was something that was kind of like, why are we doing this? I really want to get this rotation figured out. I just like organization. I don't like all over the place, and we felt all over the place against Georgetown, and I think it contributed to us losing. Like, they went on a run really early on. Like, what were they up 7-0, like right away, something like that? It was like kind of crazy. It might have been like 9-0, 11-0, something like that pretty early on, where it's like, well, we're already down 10 points. And you look at the game, we lost by 10. And I'm not saying if we didn't give up that early run, we would have been in the game, or we would have won the game, but would have gave us a much better opportunity, and how jumbled it felt. It felt like we never got the chance to do that. I want to understand us more. Are we going to be able to shoot the ball or not? I think it's kind of been a challenge for Maryland basketball 2 years ago. It wasn't much of a challenge last year. Last year, we shot the ball pretty well from the 3-point arc. Georgetown, we sucked. Couldn't shoot the ball from the 3-point arc at all. And it's a big reason that we lost the game. They just made more shots than us. Excuse me, guys. They just made more shots than us, and they didn't even necessarily shoot the ball necessarily that well, but we shot 19% from the 3-point arc. If that's how we're going to shoot in games, we just ain't going to win, and it's really that simple. We're not going to win games if we shoot that type of percentage from three. I think that's going to have to get better in this game, and something that I'm definitely going to be likely is kind of to see. So I think we have to be able to shoot much better from the 3-point arc. And that's something that's Alcorn St that's translatable. I mean, how you shoot, yeah, like it depends on how teams are playing defense, but it also just depends on if you're making shots or not. And then I want to see Isaiah Watts. He's a little bit in a slump, not playing too well. I don't think he's looking more and more like a guy that's going to be off the bench presence, but I still think he could have a huge impact on this team. I want to see him get downhill a little bit. He's settling a little bit for me, and I know he can shoot the ball, but I felt like coming in the year, I always thought his strength as somebody that got downhill. And against Georgetown, he was 0 for 4 from the 3-point line, and he only had one other field goal attempt. And to me, I'm like, I want to see him get downhill more. I want to see him do some more things at the basket and things like that. And I think right now he hasn't really done much of that, and that's something I want to see improved for Maryland basketball this year. And I want to see him get downhill a little bit more. I want to see him do some things more at the rim. But I right now it's a lot of just kind of settling, and I feel like a lot of his game is attacking. That's definitely something that I want to see improved. That I want to see get a little bit better, because I just don't think it's really it's really going well right now. And so Alcorn State isn't going to show a lot, but we're like, what, 30-point favorites or something like that. I'm not too worried about the actual game. I'm more concerned about how can Maryland basketball get more organized, looked a little bit better, because I do think we have the opportunity to put ourselves in a much better position to play a much better game than what we did. And so it's more about the Marquette game. We know Marquette's going to have a decent team, even though they just kind of lost big. We know they're still going to have a good team. We know that's going to be a much better game for us. So I want to see, can guys be more efficient? Like, David Quite had one of the better games, but he's still really inefficient. Darius Adams hasn't been efficient all year. I want to see, can guys be more efficient, continue to get to the free throw line? What's the starting lineup? How organized is Buzz Williams? Do we know what we're kind of doing? I think that's important for Maryland basketball. Let's talk about Baba. He makes his decision next week. Maryland basketball could be the selection. What it would mean for the Terps, what it would mean for the future, what it would mean for the Buzz Williams era. We'll talk about that next. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to the fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into the same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. There's so many different things to bet on FanDuel right now. You guys have to get on FanDuel, whether you're an NBA fan, a college basketball, NFL, they have it all. I know a lot of you guys watch that stuff. If you're watching this, you guys have to get on FanDuel immediately. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So it got announced that Baba is going to make his decision next weekend. The five-star prospect who reclassified up, who a lot of people think they've compared him to Kevin Durant. A lot of people think he can be a really special player. His top four: Arkansas, Kentucky, Georgetown, and Maryland. So you got the two DMV schools in Maryland and Georgetown. You wonder if it has, I don't think it does, but just to talk about this quickly, I think an obvious thought is Georgetown just crushed us. Is that a school that he could potentially want to be at? Is that a school that he potentially would pick? I'm kind of on the side of no. I think I honestly think that plays less of a role than what a lot of people think. Honestly, don't think that's much of a big thing for Maryland sports. I think it's honestly, or for recruiting, I think it's more about where you want to be. I think less of the head of to head. And so it definitely doesn't help that we lost to them, but I don't think it's some indicator on, oh, we're not gonna get him now because we lost to Georgetown and we're head to head with Georgetown. He was at the game, and I feel like he's been at Maryland a lot, man. It feels like he's kind of always around. He released that video at the University of Maryland, his official visit at the University of Maryland. It makes me feel like Maryland is the place for him. It does kind of feel like that, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys kind of see it. I kind of see it as Maryland might very well get him. I think that I feel like Maryland's a favorite, but there's no crystal ball. I feel like there's limited kind of opinions on where he's going to look, where he's going to go. I feel like most people just don't know. On three on their percentage has Maryland as a 20%, Georgetown as a 17, Virginia Tech, which is out of it now, as a 15, Arkansas, Kentucky 12.5 equally. So you wonder if Maryland is the favorite. You just don't really know, I feel like, until it happens. But I do think that Maryland has a really good shot at him. Like I said, he stayed in the DMV in high school the entire time. So I'm like, he wants to, it feels like he's a homebody. It really does. And as good as Derek Queen is, and as good as Derek Queen is in the NBA, Baba's more talented than Derek Queen. And I'll whisper it because a lot of people won't understand that statement. Derek Queen's the most skilled player maybe we've seen as a big man come through Maryland basketball. That isn't really a question mark. My point is that Baba, I don't know if we've seen a talent like him. I just don't know. 6'10", moves, can play the three. Like, I just don't know if we've seen a talent like that. And the momentum that would give Buzz Williams, that instantly puts us a top 10 recruiting class. I think right now we're in the top 20, like high top 15 right now, actually. And you get two 4-stars and a 5-star and another really good 3-star in your class. I mean, the type of talent that Buzz Williams would accumulate in his first real recruiting class, I think everyone would be ecstatic about, with the chance to add a couple of transfers too, and then get a bunch of guys back. Like, it's looking way ahead, but it could be a really good start to the Buzz Williams era, where we feel really good about what we're becoming, where things are going, and how things are coming true. But we're just going to have to see exactly what ends up happening with it. I do really like the Maryland basketball team. I like where the roster's at. I like the depth chart that we have, but I do think that Buzz Williams, if he gets a guy like this, you just start to look at it and you're like, dang, Buzz is doing it. And obviously, it's still early on, and we want to see on-court production. We didn't see that against Georgetown, but I'm not going to judge him. Year one's going to be more about kind of like what it looks like rather than the actual result. And I think he's energized. I think he's excited. And I think we're going to have the opportunity to make the tournament. I do think we're going to have to get better in areas, but I think we're doing a pretty good job overall. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're here talking Maryland football and basketball every single day. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.